I want Donald Trump to have a successful presidency for the very same reason I want my pilot to have a successful landing. I am on that plane. But the public seems to be nervous about what Trump is doing to the economy right now. Yesterday, I had two unrelated friends come to me with the same conspiracy theory. Okay, real quick, here is the theory. The Trumpcession, this upcoming recession we may be heading into, is a planned effort to destroy the economy so that his billionaire friends can ... and something. One says that he thinks Trump wants to bring about the next Great Depression so that his billionaire buddies can buy up everybody's assets. The other one says that he is doing it to implement martial law. It's always martial law. I know, it's always martial law. You know who doesn't want martial law? The marshals. Just going to leave that there. Later, I mentioned this theory to another friend, and that person actually agrees with it, agrees that it's being done on purpose. And then I'm thinking, is everybody talking about this? So I go online, and yes, a lot of people are talking about it. Dare I say that it is mainstream, or about as mainstream as a conspiracy theory can get. Now, just for the record, I am not an economist. I majored in history and sociology in college. The economy hasn't made any sense to me for, I think, going on a decade now. So I will stick to my wheelhouse. But this conspiracy theory is my wheelhouse. People are so anxious that they believe that their leader is deliberately trying to sabotage them. Now, we're going to go into the nature of conspiracy theories in this video, and we're also going to touch on this particular theory. Why does it ring true to so many people? And these are not fringe people either. These are property owning people with LinkedIn pages and mortgages and children. These are adults. I will do a quick poll now, and then we will revisit this at the end of the video. Here's the poll. Why do you think that Trump is acting recklessly in a way that harms the economy? And by recklessly, I mean he's tweeting or truthing furiously. He's starting off these trade wars with Canada and Mexico, the mass government layoffs, the turning on our historic allies like Europe and Canada, and buddying up with our historic enemies like Russia. Okay, so here are the poll options. Trump is trying to crash the economy for villainous ends. Villainous. 2, Trump is unpredictable and the market is reacting badly to his outbursts. 3, Trump is unpredictable and someone is trying to use the chaos he creates for villainous ends. Or 4, Trump is a genius, this is all part of the plan, and the world will see that he is right. I don't know the right answer, but I'm going to tell you my pick and where my instincts are headed at the end of this video. And I say instincts because that's what a lot of people are going on right now. Now, if you're an economist, you may know these people as consumers. In addition to buying things, these consumers have independent lives, they have families, they have minds, they have fears, they have hopes, and of course they buy things because they are consumers. I'll call them people, okay? And these consumers, these people are not economists either. So no, they do not know the ins and outs of Trump's intricate plan. If only economists were consumers, our economy would actually be very small. The fact is that regular people are anxious and they're spending less. Sales are down, which means that consumers, they're holding on to their money. It is notably worse after him as well. So let's just put that there. So let's go back. What is a conspiracy theory? Well, it's kind of a hypothesis. People see what's happening and they say, well, who benefits? Qui bono? And does that person or group of people have any means of making this happen? Then we find the evidence that backs up this theory. So-and-so did it. Now, some theories are backed up by more evidence than others, and some conspiracy theories are proven right many years later. They're proven right. That's why I don't really dismiss conspiracy theories outright. In fact, saying conspiracy theory is a means to label something so that the public can dismiss it. Oh, you don't have to consider that. It's just a conspiracy theory. Well, to me, it's a hypothesis, and it's up to the person who proposes the hypothesis to back it up with facts. I'm here for it. Now, oftentimes people find conspiracy theories comforting. There's a deep state and they're actually in control of what the government does. And they're the ones who killed Kennedy and they're the ones who released COVID. And they also train media personalities to give their talking points. All activity the world over is controlled by this small group of conniving people. And they're so brilliant they can do it all themselves. Now, this is comfortable to think because it means the world is not so chaotic. Random things don't just happen unpredictably. Someone has orchestrated them. And if we pay close enough attention, we can actually predict these events and maybe protect ourselves. That protect ourselves part rarely happens, does it? Now, side note, the deep state may have actually killed Kennedy. They may have released COVID, and they may be actively training the media personalities to give government talking points. There are chemicals in the water that turn the frogs gay. The scary thing is that some conspiracy theories are real, but not everything is a conspiracy theory. However, that doesn't mean that nothing is, and that doesn't mean that we know nothing. We do have instincts, okay? We see the evidence here and there, we can spot evidence, and we are great at putting stuff together, even stuff we are not involved with. Think about this. Humans figured out gravity and they figured out calculus, and it was just a smart guy with a pad of paper. That's absolutely true. But that same guy spent decades sifting through the Bible trying to find the secrets of the universe in the secret code. And that's what makes conspiracy theories so tempting and so frightening at the same time. We can find some brilliant gold, or we can just get lost down this rabbit hole that goes absolutely nowhere. Where are we right now? Who knows? If it's the JFK assassination or if it's chemtrails, well, that's just something to talk about. It's not really pressing in our lives. But if the conspiracy theory is that Trump is conspiring against me right now, well, people can't afford to ignore that. They have mortgages, they have kids. And honestly, our leaders just conspired against us like 20 minutes ago. We just lived through a very chaotic period that was full of conspiracy theories that came true. This week is the 5-year anniversary of COVID, and we're still living through the fallout from that. We are still picking up the pieces from that. I won't rehash it. Notice I mentioned the deep state because Trump used the deep state conspiracy to his advantage during the election. People don't understand the government or bureaucracy or system, so Trump was able to level this deep state boogeyman into the enemy of the people. A dragon that he, our hero, could slay for us. Oh, thank you, Trump. But now the tables have turned, and people see Trump as the conspirator scheming against them. Both things can be true, too. Now, look, Americans tend to be very straightforward, very confident. Now, this isn't everybody, but our society encourages this personality type because it does best in the market. The market itself is a massive system, by the way, akin kind of to our God. And really quick, I just want to interject this. Have you ever heard that theory that the market is so powerful and so demanding that women sacrifice their children to remain high priestesses in the market? They say that these sacrifices of children, their abortion or their birth control, and their high priestess role is actually their professional career. That is interesting. I mean, that is one way of looking at it. But you see in that example how conspiracy theories can actually be another way of interpreting reality. It's not necessarily wrong. It's just said in conspiracy theory speak. Okay, is my baby awake? He's not supposed to be awake. And the point of that idea is that Americans are straightforward and confident because the market trains us to be that way. That confidence is just survival programming. It is really hard to face how small and insignificant we really are, how little we know, and how much of our comfort is just dependent on the systems that control our lives actually working. Conspiracy theories posit that these systems are being manipulated by bad actors, and if they were left to work on their own, they would be completely functional. Not so sure about that. I really am not. Okay, so that is conspiracy theories for this video. I am not going to do an hour-long deep dive on conspiracy theories right now. If you want to know what I feel about them, go check out my 9/11 video. It's just to get the background concept so we can discuss this particular theory going around, that Donald Trump is intentionally trying to crash the economy. What evidence do these people have for this? Well, Trump sent over 100 truths, they call them truths, in an hour. So what is he doing? Just constantly? He tasked Elon Musk with cutting government waste, and that means cutting a lot of government jobs. That means all of those people who are let go now have to compete in the private sector for jobs, and people aren't hiring right now. That hiring thing is actually another conspiracy theory that people just don't talk about that much. The talking heads have been saying for years that these companies are hiring like never before, and they are definitely not. Those LinkedIn jobs, those are not real. They call them ghost jobs. And then it's hard to get your resume past HR, and people are turning to AI to give them the magic words so that the computer can sort their resumes and send them to the in pile. Okay, this whole economy is like magic for a lot of people. I'm convinced of that. And you know what? For me, it's a little bit magic too, because it's not making the logical sense. Why are companies valued at $5 billion and they never made anything? And these people who are in charge are billionaires? Meanwhile, I'm looking for a sign flipper to do my taxes. Years later, historians will be like, well, it was a speculative bubble and it wasn't real. And then I'm like, well, can I have some money then? Because I called it. And they're like, well, you still don't get any money. And I'm like, well, Why do they have money? And the historian is like, girl, I am not even there. I'm just looking at papers in the future. And I'm like, that is some bullshit. So the economy hasn't made sense to me for a while now. And people are trying to tell me that crypto isn't a scam, even though kind of looks like it, but people are getting rich off of it. So whatever. And all of this craziness was before Trump's second term. He was supposed to sort all of this out. Now he is president and he's truthing like crazy. He's threatening tariffs, on again, off again tariffs almost every day. He's threatening to undo the world order that has stood since my grandparents were young. That is the US-led world order, where the seas are safe and secure for passage to do business, where we take care of the weakest in the world through food and vaccine programs, where we support Europe and democratic Asia, and we generally don't allow major aggressive actions. That stability built the world and the markets that we see today. That's why we have a lot of opportunities. We often have a lot of opportunities because things are stable. And since the end of the Second World War, that has been the United States' position as world leader, particularly since the fall of the Soviet Union. That's what we grew up in, and it's about to all go away, or it may be about to all go away. Here is just a brief snippet from the Peter Zeihan newsletter. This is a geopolitical expert. Over in Congo, a new disease has broken out, and at the time of recording, over 400 people had been infected, and a significant portion of those were killed. Usually, the U.S. would have a swift response with boots on the ground trying to get to the bottom of this. However, new Health Secretary RFK Jr. has gutted those teams and crippled the United States' ability to respond. Oh yeah, and Trump also severed ties with the WHO. Now remember Ben Franklin said an ounce of prevention was worth a pound of cure? See what I mean? These things actually do look scary. That is just one of the many threads that Trump is pulling at in the American world order. So people don't know what tomorrow is going to bring, and that brings instability. Trump has basically just said, you know what? We're not doing this anymore. We are not going to take care of the world anymore. He ran on it. It was America first. It was isolationism, tariffs, small government. No one can say Trump didn't tell him what he planned to do. I'm reading this updated JP Morgan prediction, economic prediction, and their December projection was assuming that Trump was on some bullshit. They're like, he's not going to do all this stuff. He was not on bullshit. They're like, oh my God, this guy was serious. He said it. Why would you not think he was serious? He said everything he was going to do. Clearly, every campaign, he would stand for like 3 hours and say, I'm going to do all this stuff. And people were like, oh, he's not going to do it. He's doing it. Trump's economic policy is what happens when you let bar talk come into the real world. Now, I say that as a joke, but it represents kind of the worst parts of populism allowed to take power. We're getting screwed in these trade deals, Trump says. It should be tit for tat. Oh, and we need to cut the government, let's say in half. Let's just cut it in half. Let's cut all these government programs. Now, that's the kind of stuff that you hear at 12 a.m. at the bar, and you're actually at the table, and you guys are all nodding along, and it's great that none of you are setting economic policy. Well, guess what? It is an extreme oversimplification of complicated systems. And yes, we all voted for it. And we're just going to have to see where it goes. We're going to see where it goes. Now, let me tell you about another time in my youngish life where we voted in some crazy shit like this, and it did not work out. It didn't work out. Okay, I live in Los Angeles and I have lived here for over a decade. So California thought that it would be cool to test out these pretty far left policies like Prop 47, which decriminalized theft up to $950. And we also decriminalized drug use. We allowed homeless people to camp wherever they wanted. It was testing the theory, the social theory, that strict enforcement and laws were actually making things worse. And guess what? That stuff didn't work out. It just blew up in our face. And I'm seeing that tested on the right now with these economic theories. Now, I don't believe that Newsom is a lizard person who wants to undermine civilization so that George Soros can build a communist utopia. That's the equivalent of thinking that Trump wants to destroy the economy to gain more power. I just don't believe it. I think he's conducting an economic experiment that voters gave him permission to do. And I also don't believe that Gavin Newsom is trying to destroy California either. I just think that they believed these things. But the end results, they're the end results. California is much worse now than it was 10 years ago. And we're going to see that if it can claw its way back to sanity. Voters recently voted in more strict enforcements. But we have to see if it's going to work. We don't know if it's going to work. It's the same thing with the economy. We just don't know if you can maybe ruin it and then put it back together again. It might be like Humpty Dumpty, that once it's all broken, it's all broken. I actually do think we're more resilient than all of that. So fingers crossed we can put it back together. But we're going to see. We're going to see. Kind of the nature of chaos, though. That Humpty Dumpty shit, that's the nature of chaos. And of course, it doesn't look good that Trump surrounds himself with these billionaires, just the richest people imaginable. He surrounds himself with them. If anyone's going to benefit off of crashing the economy, it's the richest people in the world because they're going to have the money to buy up all the assets, just like what happened before. It looks like we have a team of oligarchs that are circling the carcass of a dying America, trying to get the last bit of value that they can get, trying to suck up all of our power, just like they did over COVID. And don't forget how well the billionaire class made out over the pandemic. Our government conspired to shut down the economy and put us all out of work while the laptop class and online retailers made out like bandits. It just so happens that the government is made up of the laptop class. Well, gee, that's funny. How convenient. Seems like a conspiracy to me. Seems like the plebs got It was a direct transfer of wealth from our children to the billionaires. That's what happened. It's not a conspiracy. That happened over the past 5 years. Actually insane that we tolerated that. So no, I don't think that it's insane to think that a group of oligarchs will conspire to do that again. They didn't have to give any of the money back the first time. They kept all of the money the first time. Now you might say, okay, Maya, well, that was COVID. It just happened. It was an unfortunate transfer of wealth, but it wasn't deliberate. Okay, but the results are the same regardless of the intention. That's my point. And look, anxiety about depression and recession, these things are warranted. Not only is Trump truthing like a mad king right now, but the circumstances were already precarious before he even took office. See, we understand that the AI is coming fast and white-collar jobs are at risk now too. The laptop class will not be spared. Already, we needed somebody brilliant to lead us in this time, and we do not have that. This man does not inspire confidence that he can keep the ship afloat even in good times, let alone guide us through this new wave of AI that is just, it's going to hit us like a tsunami. Any day now, it's going to hit us like a tsunami. And yes, he will get the blame. Trump will get the blame, even though it just happens to happen under him. He's not necessarily at fault for the AI, but it's going to happen under him. That's how it works in the presidency. Plus, he's got these tech billionaires behind him pushing AI. So it doesn't look good. It's a bad look. Are we actually living through a transition from a free society back to feudalism? If so, Trump is not going to stop it. He is not. He is supporting the billionaires. At least that's what it looks like. And then on top of that, he's also acting in a chaotic way that's currently disrupting the markets. Elon with the chainsaw, that's not a good look either. These are all very bad looks. They do not inspire consumer confidence. It does seem like it's coming at regular working people from all sides. It's just like everything is coming at us at once, and people are anxious about the economy. That's why they're spending less. People are worried it's going to turn into a recession, maybe even a depression, and that bad players will use the public's misery to enrich themselves. And if we don't have a recession, they don't see that the economy will actually end up working out for them. We went through this with the Biden administration. Remember, they were like, oh, the stock market's doing great. The economy is doing great. And people were looking around like, where is it for me? It's not doing great for me. It was doing great for stockholders. Now it's even worse than that because regular people are watching the news and even the wealthy are like, oh, this is bad. This is not going well. I'm like, it's going even worse. So it's going to go even worse for me. That's great. That's great. Now, if you think that I am delusional to say that the oligarchs have taken power, I am not alone. Bernie Sanders is currently filling stadiums across the country, and it's not even an election year. He says the oligarchs are firmly in power, and it's hard to argue that they're not when the richest men in the world are at Donald Trump's inauguration standing directly behind him. That's not even a conspiracy. That is accepted fact by a good portion of our country right now. Whew. So back to the original poll. Why do you think Trump is acting in a way that is harming the economy? And by that, I mean the trade wars, the unhinged tweets, the mass government layoffs, the turning against our historic allies and buddying up with our historic enemies, or at least our frenemies. Okay, the options were Trump is deliberately trying to crash the economy for villainous ends. Trump is unpredictable and the market is reacting to his outburst. Trump is unpredictable and someone else is using the chaos he creates for villainous ends. And Trump is a genius. This is all part of the plan and the world will see that he's right. What did I choose? You're like, Maya, what did you choose? I think that the answer is C, because I feel that there's probably an opportunist behind the scenes using Trump's chaos to push through all these new policies that will benefit them at the expense of working people. And we're just sort of caught up in what he's doing. We don't even pay attention. I have seen some evidence for this, for them pushing through laws that really just don't make any sense. But I'm also saying this because conniving people are going to use opportunity to their advantage, and power attracts conniving people. So he's the president. The orange elephant in the room is that Trump is easily played like a fiddle, despite all of his tough talk. He's very susceptible to flattery, to people with money, and to gifts. You say something nice about him, he likes you. He's very tit for tat like that. Now, that is just my opinion. I was really interested to find that people I respect a lot believe in a conspiracy theory about the Trumpcession, but they are not insane. These people are not insane people. I believe that times are insane, the situation is insane, and they're just reading into it reasonably. Now, I really hope that the answer is D, that Trump is some kind of a genius and that this is all part of his grand plan. You tell me your pick in the comment section below. Did your choice change from the beginning of the video to the end? I also think that this anxiety is actually really sad because I don't believe that Trump had an economic mandate. I do believe he had a social mandate to close the border, to end DEI, and to roll back this gender ideology. His ad, Kamala is for they, them, Trump is for you, was one of the most successful political ads ever, but it's a package deal. And Trump is doing exactly what he said he would. It's not really a conspiracy if he does what he said he's going to do. So if you liked this, you can join my Patreon. We talk about current events every week, and we have a Trump timer that is 10 minutes long because he's not going to take up any more of my time than that. Now, if you're like, what, Maya, what do you actually feel about Donald Trump? Well, go ahead and watch my video on the cult of MAGA. I go into it there. And yes, he is proving to be more and more of a cult leader by the day.